Okay, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Music. I'm your host, Kyle Williams, and this is the #1 web show and podcast where aspiring independent artists and do-it-yourself musicians can learn right now how to gain wider exposure, grow a strong base of raving fans, and make a living doing what they love. Now, on today's episode, I have on the show Amy Schmittauer, and she's the president of Vlog Boss Studios and the proprietor of the marketing lifestyle, vlog/blog, savvy, sexy, social. Now, this girl really knows her social media and her online marketing, and the subject for today is that marketing isn't something that we do, it's something that we are. It permeates our whole existence, whether you like marketing or not, or you think it's icky or you think it's awesome. Everything you do, from your interactions with your fans to offline, how you present yourself, that's all a part of how you market yourself. And you need to be able to learn how to show your amazing personality online by sharing amazing content and becoming the go-to artist for your potential fans. So let's jump right into this interview. All right, Amy, thanks for coming on to the Seeds of Music web show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how's things over at the East Coast?
A little snowy, not gonna lie. It's really kind of funny. We just got a lot of snow in the last 48 hours. It's really funny. I have a very short beagle, so having her walk through 8 inches of frozen over snow is kind of sad. It's
you pretty much have to
not that fun. She's she takes a step and she just poof, it's poof, it's not she just collapses the whole time, and she's just I have to just go to the bathroom and I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
I'm imagining in my head you with on a leash and you're just dragging her through the snow and it's making
essentially, yeah.
Well,
it's like that all the time, actually. Yes. Snow or not.
Well, thank you for braving the snow, even though you're inside and all safe and sound.
Part.
I don't want to make you jealous, but it's totally clear skies here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, my boyfriend's in Florida, so it's not like I haven't been getting it rubbed in. I mean, all my colleagues are usually telling me to move to San Francisco because that's where they all live, because they're all hipsters, and so For me, it's always Amy, you can't talk about the weather because you're supposed to be living out here with us. Or my boyfriend goes to Florida and he's like, come to Florida. And I'm like, I have too much to do. I don't want to go to Florida. I just don't want anyone to think that I don't fully understand where I came from. I grew up here. It's supposed to snow. Okay. Yeah. If it doesn't snow, it's the Midwest.
Yeah.
So I accept it for all that it is. And I'm ready for new seasons right about now.
Well, you're good. Just don't go to Florida. I'm actually from Florida. I know it pretty well. Unless you want a lot of unless you want to breathe in water. That's basically what it's like there. So Amy, let's jump right in. You are the personality behind the marketing lifestyle website, Savvy, Sexy, Social, and you have this concept that I think a lot of musicians need to really, really pay attention to, and that's that marketing isn't something that you do, it's something that you are. And I'm just going to speak for the musicians and independent artists that come to Seeds of Music, watch the interviews. They kind of feel like there's a resistance there when it comes to learning marketing. They're like, "Ew, marketing is this slimy three-headed beast that's coming to devour their soul." What do you have to say to something like that?
When you first said that to me, it made me actually think about the About page on the website. I think you guys will all find perfect. I used to think marketing was the most ugly word in the world. I remember growing up in school and hearing the word marketing, that people were specializing that, and thinking that is something I will never do. I specifically thought that, mostly because of ignorance, but that's exactly, and still people feel that way, even if you know exactly what it is. And I totally understand that. The reason why I was so compelled to start Savvy, Sexy, Social was because mainly I wanted to get into the social media industry. I wanted people to know who I was and that I had the advice that could help them. But it really evolved into something where there were a lot of solopreneurs or people just working for themselves, doing whatever their craft is, and needing to understand how they get in front of a bigger audience. The only word for it is marketing. I'd love to give it a different name, like a unicorn council. I don't.
Supreme
that's
Council
just yeah.
knowing what I do.
I don't have a better name for you.
Yeah.
I will say the names of marketing are not sexy. I literally have discussions with my clients about the word newsletter and how we can't call it that. And I'm like, okay, it's just an internal word, guys. I'm just letting you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's true. It's just not, the idea of marketing is not sexy. But the reason, like I said, Savvy Sexy Social evolved is because I'm helping people who are really individuals. There are also small businesses that look to me, but it has started as one person. And understanding that just because you're really, really good at what you do doesn't mean that it's going to be a business. And if you don't have a marketing plan, you're never going to have a business. But your marketing plan just needs to be that you will be your number one advocate from here on out. And that's really starting to understand that marketing is not a department. It is not something that you can just outsource. It's not something you can just have somebody teach you and you do it for 2 hours a day. It's something that you are 24/7.
And does that it seems like that really comes out, that's the principle behind social media, because I know most musicians when they if they think about marketing, if marketing ever crosses their mind,
Yeah.
I don't know when, but hopefully when they watch this, the first thing they think about as far as like how it relates to them as a creative individual or a band that has like a personality and has this music that people gather around, they think about social media. So they know they should be on social media, but how do they make it work for them?
Well, I think people start thinking of social media because it is a place where you can so be yourself. We've seen the upsides to that. We've seen the downsides to that. So it's a very careful territory to be in, but it's something so within reach. It's something anybody can do. And it's really only going to pay off if you're yourself, if you are true to who you are, if you're true to who your brand is. Yeah. So really just understanding that first and foremost. Secondly, everybody thinks, okay, I have to be on Facebook, I have to be on Twitter, I have to be on LinkedIn, I have to be, MySpace for musicians. Oh my God, So it's all of these things that everybody's telling you to do, and it shouldn't be that way. You need to be two places where you are comfortable and can represent yourself the best, and where your audience is. And those two things need to work together. But other than that, if you were on one social media platform and absolutely killed it, I would say don't do anything else. Just don't. And I say that because there's so many different reasons to be on different platforms. You just have to know exactly what your purpose is so that you never lose sight of that. And it's easier for you to do it in a more seamless way that doesn't feel like a chore. It's funny because Facebook is a 10-year-old social media platform, turned 10 years old this week. That's incredible. I know, right?
Oh.
We've been living our lives on Facebook for almost 10 years now. People that have been on it for 10 years had to have been going to a particular college at the time of launch.
I think I started mine in 2006. I was like, hey, check out this Facebook, bro.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think mine was 2008. My video went back 7 years. They did a facebook.com/lookbook. You could go and they made a nice little video for you of your life on Facebook. It really was not like that riveting, but it was cute, right? They're doing something for their users.
Was the soundtrack to Gladiator.
Right. Right. Amazing. You would know that better than me. I don't. But it's been around 10 years. That is eons in this industry. Mm-hmm. This is so new territory. People are still doing it wrong every day. People are still not even regarding it as a place they need to be, there's no way that their customer is there. And you can't think that way. Yeah. You just have to verify that. If you really truly believe your audience isn't here, you've got to test it. Yeah. So it's really important that you don't just take any hype. Just because Snapchat is huge right now doesn't mean it's where you need to be. But it could have its perks. It's just a matter of, are you comfortable there? Are you going to properly represent yourself there? Are you not going to forget about it for 2 weeks and then try to come back and jive it up? Yeah. And is your audience there?
Well, I have something to say in regards to that, though, because I think that in doing anything on social media outside of like random posts every couple of days on Facebook is outside of the comfort zone of any musician. So I think on some level that musicians will be uncomfortable. They will be uncomfortable doing something that they feel like they just don't want to do, or that they haven't done before. But there are going to be platforms that are going to be more effective, for creatives in general. One thing that I've noticed is particular artists that I've worked with and I've consulted, Twitter doesn't work for them as much as necessarily Facebook, because some people at a certain age demographic prefer not to be on Twitter because they have a perception that it's silly and they don't want to like tweet little they don't want to tweet in that format. They don't care or whatever. But Facebook seems more like it's like legit. It's more established. It's not like such a
Well,
such
it's
a
a
young
10-year-old
group.
social media platform. It's
Yeah.
certainly got some prestige at this
Yeah.
point. No, and that's true. But there's an upside and a downside to that. The upside, I think, for musicians on Facebook is that I call Facebook the place where you rally the troops. It's very difficult to be found organically on Facebook. It's
Hmm.
possible, but it's hard. It's easier if you pay for ads because that's what
Yeah.
Facebook wants you to do.
Yeah.
But Facebook is a great place to rally the troops. If people know you and they love you, and musicians have people that are fans of theirs, let's even call them groupies because I love that word, then they're following you on Facebook. They're advocating for your every move. They're
Hmm.
going to be there for you. And Facebook is great for that.
Yeah.
Twitter is great if you're trying to be found. And maybe it's not necessarily a place where musicians feel comfortable because you do have to try to be found on Twitter, but it's a lot easier than Facebook. And
Yeah.
Facebook can be a sad and sad and sad, lonely place
Yeah.
until you reach a critical mass of people who are following you, and Facebook has decided that your updates are good enough to show up in the
Up in the
news feed
newsfeed. Yeah.
relatively high,
Yeah.
not necessarily as high as people's ex-boyfriends that they're still stalking and their
Hmm.
mom, but you're there. So it's tough because they really do two different things in my opinion. That said, in terms of frequency, I totally understand why it's out of your box if you're not used to it to say like, okay, well, how is it natural for me to post to Facebook? It's going to have to be a habit that I
Yeah.
create before it's something that's comfortable for me. And
Hmm.
I totally understand that. It is going to be a habit that you create, but it's going to be a habit that sticks when you realize how in touch you are with your audience because of that vehicle.
Yeah.
It's social media that has made us more personal with the people that we love to follow. People acting in huge TV dramas are
Yeah.
tweeting during the show,
Yeah.
and they have that access to their favorite actors and actresses now. The same
Yeah.
goes for musicians. If you're so excited about somebody going on their first tour, or they're hopefully coming to your city soon, or they're in your city and they missed your show, but they really want to know what you're up to while you're here, how cool is that they can follow along?
Yeah.
This is something that they've never been able to do before social media.
Yeah.
So understanding, once you feel that connection to your audience, you'll completely change your mind about what social media can do for you.
Yeah, and I think you'll once they start experiencing some kind of results just from from consistency. Because one thing was
Absolutely.
no artist, the majority of artists aren't consistent with what they do online with social media, and they don't check results, and they don't
Yeah.
split test, and they don't test things out.
Absolutely.
And those are I think those are very easy things to implement, in the beginning.
Totally.
And
But
anybody
again,
can do it, right?
Yes, but again, very unsexy words. Like I love that you
Oh,
said
yeah.
split texting, split testing.
test, yeah.
Nobody wants to do that. I don't even want to do that. Like I don't. I just want to.
Am I weird because I think
No,
it's fun?
but no, it is kind of fun, but you don't
Yeah.
know that until you're trying it, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh wow, no, I really did optimize my newsletter a little bit more because I like a musician's like, dude.
Yeah. Well,
Dude,
I can say this, and I think this is extremely important because I was a musician before I started Season Music or started marketing and any of that. I was a musician first. It's the reason I get enjoyment out of things like split testing, headlines on like an email or whatever I do.
Yeah.
It's because I believe in what I'm doing. And I have a strong conviction with it. So merely
And I
this is
think
just
that
giving
is
me a
so-
step.
But you know what? I think we always think that we believe what we're doing too, but as creatives, we have a hard time fully representing ourselves that way.
Okay.
It's so, this is a creative thing across the board. You can be a designer, you can be a musician, you can be a social media consultant. I'm a creative. And for me to put down the foot, musicians know this best, about charging what I'm worth because it's something I'm just so naturally good at and I enjoy.
Yeah.
We have a harder time with that. But it's so important that you said that, because really knowing that what you're doing, you care about it, it's worth something, and people need to know about it, that's going to make you feel a lot less salty about marketing, because that's truly what it's all about.
Yeah, because you realize it just comes down to doing what you have to do to achieve what you want, and
Definitely.
it's like once you really commit to that, and get past like just like any kind of fears you have about, well, it might change you or whatnot, and see that it's just those are silly fears, then you can really take the plunge. One thing I want to ask you, because I feel like you would be great at explaining this. Can you explain? Okay, I'm a musician. I know nothing. Maybe I just hate marketing. Tell
Sure.
me what a brand is and why I need to build that.
So, a brand is a feeling, right? It's the feeling that you give your audience. That's the best way that I can describe it. You know, you have your business, here's my business name, this is where the checks go. A brand is what people feel when they come in contact with you. When you're on stage, when you're tweeting, when you make a video on YouTube, what is your brand? Who are the people that you're talking to, and how do those two things work together? It's not much more complicated than that. We can go into branding, which is like, okay, fine, like I need a logo and I need a website and what are my colors? That's not what this is all about.
Yeah.
The whole thing is,
That's
how
not
do you
sexy.
make your customer feel? Yeah. No, I mean, design can be pretty sexy, but how do you make your customer feel? How do you make your audience feel? What are they supposed to get from you, right? What are they supposed to understand from you? We see like child musicians these days. Let me just name drop Justin Bieber. His brand is a little screwy right now, right? Because
Yeah.
he's a child growing up, and that's a part of life. And same with Miley Cyrus. You know, I started on Disney, and now I want to be who I truly am. That's a screwy situation for the audience because
Yeah.
the brand that they were led to believe is vastly different. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
your audience is going to change.
Yeah.
And so it's important when you make those changes that you understand the repercussions of that, but it's true to you. So that's what's most important. You just have to understand that changes come and new people are going to have to come with it. So I feel like if I could explain it best, it's a feeling. And I think musicians could understand that better than anybody.
And what would be the most effective? What could like a musician do right now to start building a better brand? You know, if that's that feeling.
I think you need to just kind of drop any wall that you have up about being yourself. That I think most people come to me with that issue in terms of being a personality, especially once you're online. Amy, oh my gosh, your videos are, I'm not a talking head. It's not like a chore to get through my video to learn what I'm going to teach you. I'm 100% myself. I'm not taking myself too seriously because I know we all started in the same place. And so really being comfortable with being yourself, I feel like is the first step. So as soon as you're comfortable with doing that, then you're going to be able to represent your brand properly. But you also need to make sure that you fully embrace what that is 24 hours a day. You can't change your mind the next day of what type of brand you are. Maybe you need to write down your branding guidelines. Maybe that gives you that structure that makes you feel better about how you're going to execute every day. I'm a structural person. I love black and white. It's actually very weird that I'm a creative because I am such a black and white type of person.
Oh, yeah.
But I do, I like to write those things down. Like pricing, for example. If you don't put your foot down about pricing, sit down and say, what do I want my prices to be? Write them down and have them in front of you every time you have a potential client call. And you know what? Just say that number. It's that sort of just writing it down and knowing how to represent yourself every day so that you don't forget and you don't waver and you don't kind of like, oh, but I can be this person if you need me to be. Then you're much more likely to stick with it and people will respect you.
So maybe for musicians that might not, because they probably won't have clients like calling and having client meetings
Sure.
and all that. Like maybe it's just coming out with like a list of like character traits where you feel like represent your truest self, and then just okay. This sounds kind of hokey, but I'm into stuff like that. But put it up on your wall, and then when you wake up, just look at it and just make sure that whenever we are in front of people, you just that's what you represent, and it could also be just like a personality that you create for the public. I think that works too, because think about Prince. Prince can never not be Prince. I literally think he like sleeps in a purple bed in a purple suit,
Totally.
and never
Same with
breaks
Lady
character.
Gaga. You never see Lady Gaga in public without heels on.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Writing it down, put it on your ceiling so you wake up every morning and see it. Whatever you do. I particularly like a website called Murally. It's mural.ly. It's a place where it's kind of like it's almost like a corkboard, whiteboard situation where they give you all these tools like fake little Post-it notes and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
I love to just like design this really pretty thing, and then it's digital. I can see it anywhere. That's exactly actually where I have my pricing listed.
so like
it's
a
on this
vision board
very
for
pretty,
everywhere.
it's like a vision board.
Oh, okay.
but more control than like Pinterest. Pinterest is kind of like a controlled vision board.
Oh,
You could do the same thing there, right? But this is more of like I can put this post-it note here and write on it so that I can have that everywhere I go. And it's actually not hanging up for the entire public. My boyfriend wouldn't really like it if I posted like characteristics on our walls.
oh,
So
right.
I can't really do that. But I do want it somewhere where I can see it all the time and remind myself every time, what am I trying to do? It may seem really dumb for you to say like, oh, I'm kind of like quirky, like to write that down and be like, okay, but you just have to remind yourself, like, if that is what you
Yeah.
want to be known for, then you're just reminding yourself to just kind of step up your game whenever you're in
Yeah.
front of the audience.
Yeah, I think that if you looked at something generic, sounds generic on the list, like I'm funny, like it's like when you no one else is gonna read that, so whenever someone else reads that, they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
whatever,
Right.
bro. But
Right.
if when you read it, when you there's so much more that goes through your head, like you understand exactly what that word represents. So yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, just I think artists need more positive self-talk in their life. Period. So
Definitely.
and they also need whiteboards.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of
Love.
the whiteboard.
Definitely.
So Amy, one last question I'm going to ask here. And is there and I'm not saying that there has to be an answer to this, but what do you think's the most like kick-ass powerful social media platform out there right now?
YouTube.
YouTube. All right.
Definitely.
That's a great
Especially
answer.
it is the best answer, and it's certainly the best answer for this particular audience. If you're a musician and you really are trying to grow your online presence, then you will have a killer YouTube channel. It doesn't matter if it's only the events that you do live or whatever your particular venue might be,
Yeah.
but I've seen so many amazing, amazing talents come out of YouTube. Justin Bieber is a YouTuber. I don't know if you know.
Oh
And
yeah.
his like
Do
and
we
his
have
like
another example besides?
I know, and his spawn, Austin Mahone. No,
Okay.
like Kina Grannis is one of my favorite YouTube musicians, and I've heard her. I just recognize her voice so well. Suddenly, I heard her voice on like a Disney commercial,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh my gosh, it's. I'm not trying to tell you to get in the limelight quickly. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
YouTube has the most loyal audience by far online, hands down. I will never change my mind about that ever. I have to upload my videos at the same time every day. There are people sitting there and they are waiting and they are expect me to keep my consistent schedule, and I do that for them because they're there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so by being able to have those people, I know they've got my back.
Yeah.
And when you're a musician, there is nothing better than YouTube. Nothing.
Yeah.
Especially if discovery is amazing. If you ever do covers and stuff like that, it's absolutely amazing the things that can happen for you there.
You have
And you
to
get to
watch
be
out for
so
content
creative.
ID, though.
Sure,
Yeah.
content ID, absolutely. But if it's your own thing, it's your own cover. That there are laws and rules that you have to read, but you can absolutely if you didn't want to even be a partner on YouTube, it wouldn't even matter. You don't have to make a check from YouTube to profit from it.
I
The
think
people
most-
that will
yeah.
find you and follow you and love you and want to know everything about you, and oh my gosh, I found him on YouTube. What does he do in real life? How does he usually perform? Is this how he likes it? He likes to just play in his room, or does he go out live, or whatever that is? The discovery factor on YouTube is outrageous. It's crazy great. It's amazing.
Okay, so biggest lesson. Well, we actually had a lot of great lessons here, but get a YouTube channel no matter what, and
Please.
start
Just
putting out content.
upload
Great.
any performance you've ever just have, if nothing else, it's a portfolio for you, right?
Yeah.
But you can start to build this international audience there, and that is such a great feeling. And YouTube will make you love social media even more because those people will be hitting you up constantly wherever you are. Facebook, Twitter, they're loyal. They are so loyal.
Yeah. That's that's actually was like the best answer, and I wasn't really looking at it for an answer, but I was kind of looking for like she's
Yeah.
gonna say.
Well, girl's gonna plug YouTube. I mean, that's what I do.
Yeah, right on, right on. So I have one last secret question, Amy. What is your favorite album, and what would your life be like if it never existed?
That is such a good question. Dang! I wish I had a heads up. The first CD I ever owned was Boys to Men 2. I think it was called Two because there was a big Roman numeral number two on front of it.
I have no idea. I have never heard
Really?
that album.
Oh
Please
man.
forgive me.
No, it's okay. Um, I don't I don't think I would love as hard as I do without that CD.
Mhm.
I think Boys to Men really taught me how to love. And I'll never ever forget them for that. I'll never forget that they were the first CD that I had on repeat for probably a year.
Oh,
They,
nice.
that was really what started my love of music.
Did you what other bands were you listening to around that time? Like,
God, that was so early. That was so early on, but like I feel like the next phase for me was the big boy band phase. Just because during like the 90s. Like so it was like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, like all that crazy stuff that was happening. Where like Boys to Men, I feel like, well, you could say like the
how many
Beatles.
members were in that band?
There were four at the time.
Four. Okay.
There are three now, and one of them is no longer a part of it. But he was just like the super deep talker. So like there'd be like this moment in the song where he'd be like, "Hey, baby,"
Oh.
like so he's not in the band anymore, unfortunately. But they're still pretty awesome.
Okay, right on. So yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. You usually, I was like, I was trying to remember any. Can you name a song by Boyz II Men? Because I usually have that.
Motown Philly would have been on the album, I think, before Two came out. So like I didn't know that song quite as well, but I knew all of their newer stuff. So like Motown Philly. If you look up Motown Philly, you will know exactly who I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah, I have to look at it because the title doesn't ring a bell, but I'm sure I've heard it before.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. There's so many songs on the Two album. There's no way you haven't heard them. There's no way. Unless you're like 12. How old are you?
I'm 28,
okay.
so we're good to go.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember.
We're
that.
the same age. So
And you know
like
where, you know where I'm gonna
should
go check out the song? I'm gonna go on YouTube.
YouTube.
All right, guys. Yeah. Number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Amy, thanks again for coming on, man. This is a lot of great information here. I really hope that guys, if you're listening to this interview, that you just open yourself up to being like your marketing. It's not something icky. It's something you've got to do if you really want to achieve the fan base you want. Grow relationships with them and have a more successful career with music. So thanks again, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, have a good one.
And that wraps up this week's episode of Seeds of Music. We had on the show Amy Schmittauer. Please check out her links below and connect with her. Learn a lot about social media marketing and online marketing from her because this woman knows her stuff, and it's essential for you as a musician to be able to know the same things that she is teaching as well. Now, if you haven't yet, sign up for the Seeds of Music email newsletter. This is the best way to stay up to date with everything Seeds of Music. Get notified when new interviews come out and when special email newsletter only content gets released as well. And next, subscribe to our podcast. We have an audio only version of the show on iTunes. Just head over to iTunes. If you got an account, go to the podcast section and search for Seeds of Music Rise Above the Noise, and it should pop up right there. Hit subscribe. You'll get episodes automatically downloaded straight to whatever device you use, but also take the time, please, to leave a rating and review, because if you do that, it'll help the show rank higher within iTunes and get more exposure, and therefore I can also get bigger and better interviews with more clout. So next, if you liked this interview, click that share button. Share it with everyone you know. Click like, click share, click like, and click share again and again and again. Spread it far and wide. Next, comment on the video. What was your greatest takeaway from the interview? There's a little box at the bottom of the post page on the Seeds of Music website. If you're watching from there, you can just leave your comment there and just let me know what was like the biggest thing that you learned that you feel like is really going to help you out with your social media. Also, how are you applying what you've learned, and who would you like to see interviewed next? And if that person is you, feel free to reach out to me at kyle.seedsmusic@gmail.com. I answer every email. Insane as it may sound, I do actually answer every email. And remember, we are the future of music.